The first time Andrew was ever in Edinburgh, he was 10 years old. With his father and some other men, he climbed a slippery black street. It was raining. The city smell of smoke filled the air, and the half-doors were open, showing the firelit insides of taverns which he hoped they might enter because he was wet through. They did not. They were bound somewhere else. Earlier on the same afternoon they had been in some such place, but it was not much more than an alcove, a hole in the wall, with planks on which bottles and glasses were set and coins laid down. He had been continually getting squeezed out of that shelter into the street and into the puddle that caught the drip from the ledge over the entryway. To keep that from happening, he had butted in low down between the cloaks and sheepskins, wedged himself amongst the drinking men and under their arms. He was surprised at the number of people his father seemed to know in the city of Edinburgh. You would think the people in the drinking place would be strangers to him, but it was evidently not so. Amongst the arguing and excited, queer-sounding voices, his father's voice rose the loudest. "America!" he said, and slapped his hand on the plank for attention, the very way he would do at home. Andrew had heard that word spoken in that same tone long before he knew it was a land across the ocean. It was spoken as a challenge and an irrefutable truth, but sometimes, when his father was not there, it was spoken as a taunt or a joke. His older brothers might ask each other, "Are ye away to America?" when one of them put on his plaid to go out and do some chore such as penning the sheep. Or, "Why don't you be off to America?" when they had got into an argument and one of them wanted to make the other out to be a fool. The cadences of his father's voice in the talk that succeeded that word were so familiar, and Andrew's eyes so bleary with the smoke, that in no time he had fallen asleep on his feet. He wakened when several pushed together out of the place, and his father with them. Some one of them said, "Is this your lad here, or is it some tinker squeezed in to pick our pockets?" And his father laughed and took Andrew's hand, and they began their climb. One man stumbled, and another man knocked into him and swore. A couple of women swiped their baskets at the party with great scorn, and made some remarks in their unfamiliar speech, of which Andrew could only make out the words, "decent bodies," and "public footpaths." Then his father and the friends stepped aside into a much broader street, which in fact was a courtyard, paved with large blocks of stone. His father turned and paid attention to Andrew at this point. "Do you know where you are, lad? You're in the castle yard, and this is Edinburgh Castle that has stood for 10,000 years and will stand for 10,000 more. Terrible deeds were done here. These stones have run with blood. Do you know that?" He raised his head so that they all listened to what he was telling. "It was King Jamie asked the young Douglases to have supper with him, and when they were fair sitting down, he says, 'Oh, we won't bother with their supper. Take them out in the yard and chop off their heads.' And so they did, here in the yard where we stand. But that King Jamie died a leper," he went on with a sigh, then a groan, making them all be still to consider this fate. Then he shook his head. "Ah, no, it wasn't him. It was King Robert the Bruce that died a leper. He died a king, but he died a leper." Andrew could see nothing but enormous stone walls, barred gates, a red-coat soldier marching up and down. His father did not give him much time anyway, but shoved him ahead and through an archway, saying, "Watch your heads here, lads. They was wee little men in those days. Wee little men. So is Boney the Frenchman. There's a lot of fight in your wee little men."